Welcome to the Master of Orion 2 Ultimate Challenge. Vanilla race with no economy and capacity bonuses on strategic combat using huge pre-warp 8 players to give AI the biggest head start. Part 1 will cover a preparatory stage, which is paramount to the winning game. Unlike tactical combat, you can't blitz opponents with even max negatives race at impossible difficulty. The goal of this video is to provide the framework of the ultimate strategy that works for all races, discuss quirks and alternative paths you take with stronger races, walk you through every 4X system in the game step by step while using uncut gameplay as the backdrop to show how it looks in action. To prove the point, I took one of the weakest races in strategic and played it on the decisively mediocre map. I rerolled the generation until I got toxic rich in homeworld, no natives, no gems or gold, no splinter colonies, marooned leaders or pirate caches in my part of the map. So yeah, I saw my sector before recording. Deal with it, potential hater coming up with excuses already. First I give you the general picture of the flow of the game. You can separate strategic game in 4 broad holistic stages. Production and food dominates the early game, so you have to figure out if your race can do around 18 production for colony bases or 38 for colony ships with either no automated factories, at autofax or with robo-miners. If you're able to do colony ship, then can your homeworld farmers support second system? If not, you have to get and build soil enrichment before supercomputers. If you are doing fine without quick robo-miners and soil enrichment, you will have to go for the supercomputers. These 3 techs is what you should be doing first, but order varies depending on your race. Spying is non-existent during this stage unless you are Darlock. You will have to build outposts before spies to scout the map, and get into contact with alien races as soon as possible. Another reason for no spying is the possibility of losing all treaties or going straight into the war with offended race. You in a hurry to establish diplomatic contacts since treaties are very powerful for boosting your economy, stop spying demands, surrender 1 or 2 population systems claims, and 5% tax extortions are very easy and you get no repercussions for failing 95% of the time. In this LP, I will limit demands to 1 or 2 AI systems to house their powerful races. Another important facet of this stage is getting mega wealth, diplomacy, farming, or science leader. Production, pollution reduction, or morale leaders are the second priority, since these effects are for the mid-game built-up colonies. Dismiss everyone else because it's not a tactical combat. In strategic combat, crew bonuses and leader skills except ordnance, commando, and navigator doesn't work. Next stage is getting deuterium fuel cells, pollution processor, and fusion drives. Try to get fusion drives at low % first unless you are boxed into the corner. If 25% fail, switch to deuterium cells. One of the reasons is that you want to build at least 3 spies before making contact with multiple races at outposts combined with deuterium cells. After cells, try low % for fusion drives again, since it's likely you have colony or 2 at this point, and lowering population transportation time is on top of the list. About 1/3 of your planet should be dedicated to housing starting from this stage. If you fail 25 and 40% rolls, switch to pollution processor. Have to get it no matter what, since can't afford to skip pulse and missiles, unless you are okay spending tons of extra time getting ion drive into antimatter torpedo. Note that in this case AI won't fear your star bases and missile bases. If you don't need gravity generators, alternative path is Mercurite missiles into atmospheric renewer into Zortrium armor into fusion beam for battleship to kill any monster except dragon, which gonna be an eye for an eye trade. If you do need gravity generators, then have to stick to pollution processor into physics like in this game. Neutron scanner is the necessary technology. With fusion beams and battle scanners you will need frigates for the guaranteed pet control task. 12 for eel, 11 for dragon, 10 for crystal, 8 for hydra, 8 for amoeba. Of course you can do atmospheric renewer into frigates without going for high RP Zortrium battleship. The monster planets are essential because they will serve as the shipyards for the rest of the game. Try to fill them in with superior races unless it takes more than 4 turns to transport population there from your housing centers. Now as for the exploit part of the palette. You should have non-aggression pacts signed with your neighbors. They always ready to grab new unprotected colonies or outposts otherwise. That will bait them in the early war, which gonna lose you the game. Simple answer to why question is, you don't have enough war technologies and production to beat your adversaries quickly on impossible difficulty. If you manage to get out alive, then runaway races, tucked away in another corner, will be too far ahead. Check AI-fueled technologies to force them into wars with the other contacts. This wars will last for a long time if they only contacted at extended range. This will prevent tech trading between computer opponents. Especially relevant to sick everyone on creative or repulsives. Spying becomes viable, but risky against democracies and default spying technology races. You will have to use 5 spies for each empire for the good chance, and increase to 10 for priority targets. There is no spying micro, since AI reacts to your rearrangements right away in the optimal manner. Just make sure to use hide function. 10 defensive spies is worse compared to 5 defensive and 5 on hide. You concede low chance of stealing and therefore ruining relationships, leading to broken treaties in the early war, in order to gain double-purpose action of increased spy assassination bonus and enemy spy decommission to the defensive duties. After following either of 3 paths to kill monsters, you have to finish this stage by going for the auto labs. There is a 4th path for high research races. They can pick both gravity generator and atmospheric renewer before auto labs. For the extreme cases of focused research, it's possible to go for the auto labs straight out of the gate. You have to pick auto labs to keep up with impossible difficulty opponents. Those extreme research races can go for the production androids after that. Another reason for the auto labs path is the cybersecurity link that makes sure spies will have about 10 to 20% chance of stealing text depending on the opposing races. Stage 3 is when you have enough research points to go for the war techs or be greedy for a little longer. Scoop up low RP technologies like Space Academy, but don't build it since it's useless and strategic, followed by xenopsychology since you are in contact with many races at this point, or Alien Center if you have races that are better than yours, or you are planning to go to the war soon. Next, you want to get ion drive at low percentage to improve transportation speed and potential defensive fleets maneuvering. If not, switch to stock exchange. If you have enough production stockpile, go for the exchange right away. After exchange, you should make a decision. You've been delaying terraforming long enough, so one of your sworn enemies most likely has it. Try to exchange something meaningless to get it. While you at this point, look for subspace communication. If no one has it, you have to go for telepathic training into terraforming if you have oceans. But if you are running out of food, it's a good cheap tech to upgrade your swamps and airids beside extra space for researchers. If you traded for it, then can pick the last economy tech before going for the war techs, which is Astro University, and it's very good solution to all your problems from many turns ahead. Subterranean or aquatic races with many large planets should go for the fast missile racks into recyclotron after auto labs. In my video, I was against aggressive xenophobic Klakens, so I had to go for the war techs to eliminate them from the game as fast as possible. In a sense, they are worse than repulsive since many races will be constantly making peace due to their strength, which wouldn't happen that often against repulsives. If you didn't go Mercurite missiles into the renewer path, you will have to pick Pulsar missiles into Zortrium armor. In any scenario, no matter the preceding tech, it's time to go for Zortrium. By that point, you should have some battleships built, and in strategic, all techs update automatically without need for the refits. Remember that fleet score increases diplomatic roles and dissuades AI from targeting you. After Zortrium, you have to take a beam. If you didn't have to do gravity generator, then graviton beam is really strong. Otherwise, have to go straight to the Gauss cannon like I did in the vid, or phaser as an alternative, while picking up subspace communications if you haven't traded for them. Next, go down the force fields tree. ECM jammer is must have to cover the option of war breaking down early. Inertial stabilizer is simply the best. Have to pick class 3 shield if gonna choose Gauss cannon later, or radiation shield for terraforming radiated planets way later in the game. Personal shield or stealth suit. If you are close to researching plasma rifle after picking phasers, if you don't have races worth capturing for the techs and their perks, if you have a good bomb. What then? If none of those positive, you will have to go with stealth suit that turns spying into very effective strategy. You will be going into the war, so not so scared of repercussions imposed by a successful spying. Lightning Field is no-brainer unless you have phaser and enough time to turtle with interdictors to get either multi-wave jammer and Class 7 shield, which I recommend, or Class 5 and wide area jammer for immunity from the most powerful damage dealers. Class 3 shields and hard shields alongside Gauss Cannon will be enough most likely like in my video, but have to check their offense first. If you have Mercurites and they at Zortrium armor, have to go for the antimatter torpedo. Based on the map and availability of the navigator leader, pick antimatter drive or antimatter bomb. If you skip bomb at this level, you will have to trade not only for positronic computer, but for fusion bomb as well. The last tech will be fast missile racks that grants bonuses to torpedoes too. That's enough for attacking without losses. Bring 2 battleships when facing Starbase and Missile Base, which I didn't have a chance to show in this vid since no one had missile bases. As for the other 4 X's, use diplomacy to keep races at war with each other, demand small systems to shorten the conquest time. Demand stop spying from time to time because you never know when AI gonna decide to throw 30 spies at you out of the blue. Spying is very powerful at this stage and the most appropriate time to use it anyway. Don't forget to rearrange your leaders so they will serve the best systems. For the last stage, do Megafluxers, Hyper-X, and Plasma Rifle or Webs, if picked Gauss line, while conquering the other races. Go down Advanced Government, Weather Controller, and Psionics for morale and spying. Then Science Androids into Virtual Reality Network. For Antaren's homeworld, do Moleculatronic Computer into Inertial Nullifier into Plasma Torpedo. You will have death rays from the Guardian kill. It's time to talk about the combat logic. Similar to planetary bombardment, you have simulation of the tactical combat with the next rules. Reminder that almost every battle will include planetary defense. Ships include monsters and Antarans. Antarans have specific rules I will mention. Targeting logic: target chosen randomly unless it's a planet and fired at until killed, or all ammo used for the round, so Nasty Orbital can survive for multiple rounds if there are fleet present. Planet always acts first, but that doesn't matter much since destroyed ships will fire for the round, cause simultaneous combat is simulated. There are no overkills, and after the first target gets destroyed status, the rest of the weapons will be used on the subsequent random target. The only weapon that can overkill is Enveloping Planetary Stellar Converter. Weapons don't use upgrades, and there is no initiative in the combat. Everyone fires at the same time. Damage dealt is random and doesn't depend on your accuracy. Beam attack only determines if you scored a hit or not. All planetary structures have 40 HP not modified by armor. Planets and orbitals don't use specials at all. Planets don't benefit from shields reduction, don't have racial bonuses or computers. During rounds 1 and 2, missiles and torps get fired by ships. Antarans don't have missiles, but fire beams. Only planets firefighters and beams if fighter garrisons and ground batteries present. Round 3, ships and orbitals fire beams and specials, fighters, webs, pulsars, BHGs, etc. Ships use the last ammo for the missiles, therefore won't use them on the next rounds, unlike orbitals and planets, who have infinite load using it cheat. Antarans fire their beams twice only during this round. Round 4 plus, planets and orbitals start firing missiles, plus Antaren's fortress. Ships start dropping bombs on the planet, which can't be hit by regular weapons while the opponent fleet's still alive. From this point, only beams and specials used by ships, while orbitals and planets continue to use missiles on top of that. The first idea is to have good missiles for you orbitals and missile bases to prevent AI attacks in the first place. They don't care about nukes for the obvious reasons described above. Your ships will benefit because you can kill many opponent ships before round 3. Then stacking missile evasion, beam defense, and shield reduction, since default chance to hit is 40% with 0 beam attack defense difference. Next is increasing your beam and missiles potency by researching megafluxers. Beams only get 50% amount increase, Hyper-X, and fast missile racks. Work with torps too. In the closing part of this lecture, I will cover economy micro since you have to execute the strategy. First of all, housing planets. Usually the best role for the low-capacity planets is baby factory. You will spend too many time and resources for these planets to contribute otherwise. You should do auto factories into robotic factories or robo-miners and leave them on housing. Slap on marine barracks, so these planets can be used to spam transports later. For the regular planets, do the next routine 95% of the time: autofax, robofax, pole processor, robo-miner, gravity generator. Followed by Astro University or Atmos Renewer depending on pollution levels. Cloning center next if you have them, if you laid the foundation. Depending on specialization, you're going to do the following set of actions. Food improvements in the queue if you plan to use farmers to relieve population on the other developed planets. If not, go for the colony bases. Races with high growth like Sacra should build colony bases before cloning center. Recyclotron before colony bases worth it on 8 population planets. If you don't have enough population to transport, it might be beneficial to house to 1/3 of population, or like 8 pollution cleanup before proceeding with building up. Morale buildings next in line, unless you can build them earlier if production bonuses won't be affected by pollution. So say barracks provide 20% instead of 10%. For barracks on planets, you want 8 pop for 10% boost of autofax plus miners, plus 1 gold for morale, or when it's a good planet for farming that you want to sustain without much freighters. On top of that, you generate the max amount of marines possible. If you found yourself at 2 pop off max cap, and you have cloning centers, build biospheres to keep up high growth. After you reach 6 pop on non-toxic, non-radiated planets, and everything above constructed already, it's time for the money buildings, starting with stock exchange unless it's the ocean world. Ocean has to go through the first terraforming step. Barrens, tundras, deserts, and arids do money before terraforming. Arids and swamps should go for 1 terraforming before building science buildings, starting with autolabs leading into supercomputers and to research labs to benefit from the flat bonuses and gradually shift workers to science profitably. Then continue slowly working on androids, terraforming, star bases, spies, freighters, or whatever you need, but not required immediately. If you have androids, build them to the limit before doing the next terraforming step. Other races with bigger capacity will unlock Alien Management Center once they arrive. Do it to eliminate the 20% mixed races penalty. On frontier planets in the regular fuel range of your opponent, you want to keep fleet until missile bases built, which will be your first project. Then go for the regular list, but build other available defenses and starbase instead of colony bases step. On the invaded planets, scrap buildings like space academies that are useless and strategic. I've shown you the light. Now use that newly acquired lens to put things in perspective. Abuse the pure knowledge and skill edge to aid in beating impossible huge pre-warp strategic combat as a stock races, which is a real challenge compared to the easily beatable tactical games. You can find the link in the video description covering the tactical logic, plus selected highly creative, memorable fights from one of these games at Stock Bull Rathi. There are many galaxies to conquer. Try beating strategic as the overpowered custom race first before going down the hardcore route. Anyway, the video will be silent. Don't forget to check the video description as I always suggest. More knowledge jewels dropped for free.